Question number 3, Andrew Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and asks, as part of the government's wider economic plan, how will Budget 2015 help families and businesses in New Zealand's regions?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, Budget 2015 will help families and businesses in the regions by building on an economic plan that's working for regional New Zealand. Some budget measures are specific to the regions and some will deliver benefits right across New Zealand. For example, in science and innovation, there is $25 million over 3 years for new regional research institutes to support regional innovation. In addition, there is an $80 million boost over 4 years to R&D growth grants, which will support innovative businesses around New Zealand carrying out research and development.
A supplementary, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question. Order.
What measures were included?
Supplementary question, Andrew Bailey.
Thank you. What measures were included in the budget to support the construction of modern infrastructure in regional New Zealand?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, much more good news. As part of a $244 million school building package, new schools will be built in Whakatane, Gisborne, Hastings, Rolleston and Hamilton. And there will be significant school expansions in Papamoa and Queenstown. The budget provides a $360 million boost for world-class internet connectivity in the regions. This includes $100 million to expand fast, reliable rural broadband and $210 million for the next stage of extending ultra-fast broadband to smaller towns and to reach 80% of New Zealanders. There is $52 million for a new wharf on the Chatham Islands, and the government has signed housing accords with local councils in Tauranga, Western Bay of Plenty, Queenstown Lakes and Tasman, and negotiations for further accords in areas such as Nelson are underway.
Yeah, excellent.
Point of order, the Right Honourable Winston.
But with respect, that was an extraordinarily long answer, and frankly,
Order. The member will immediately resume his seat. As I pointed out to the House, I judge the length of answers, and what does determine that to some extent is the level of interjection that a minister may be getting. Now, since we've started question time, there has been an unacceptable level of interjection coming particularly from some members on my left. I'm the one who deals then with complaints from the public that the amount of cross-chatter in this House is meaning that people who want to view Parliament and watch the proceedings are unable to understand the answers because of the level of interjection. A reasonable amount of interjection I fully accept, but when it's a constant barrage from one or two members particularly, then I will have no choice but to deal with it. Further supplementary? I've dealt with the first point of order. It's a fresh one, I'll hear it.
Order.
Fresh point of order.
Am I to understand, therefore, that if there is what you would call untoward behaviour on one side of the House, then all the rules about the terseness of an answer are out the window?
Order. Now, the member is raising exactly the same point of order, but for his benefit, I'll explain. When an answer is being given by a minister and there's a constant level of interjection, many ministers take the opportunity of responding to that interjection. I think that is fair enough to then allow the answer to be longer. But as I said at the start of the first point of order I raised, or the member raised, I am here to judge when a length of answer has become too long, and I will make that judgment. I do not need assistance from any member in that regard. Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In light of that answer around the rebuilding of schools, will he guarantee today the rebuilding of Northland College?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, that is actually a matter for the Minister of Education. But can I say, this government is investing massive amounts into the education school building program, as well as investing the money that's already in the budget. We are investing $1 billion from the Future Investment Fund.
Order. And on this occasion, the Minister did answer immediately. And
Supplementary, Mr.
Supplementary
Speaker.
question, Andrew Bailey.
How did Budget 2015 provide further assistance and support for transport and tourism in our regions?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, the budget allocated $97 million as the first instalment into the government's $212 million additional regional roads program. This allocation will focus on improving 5 regional highways in Northland, the East Coast, Taranaki, the West Coast and Queenstown. In terms of tourism, national cycle trails around the country are supporting tourism and local jobs across the regions, and Budget 2015 provided another $3 million to help complete Northland's Twin Coast cycle trail.
Mr Speaker,
Supplementary question, Andrew Bailey.
how is growth in the regions contributing to New Zealand's international trade in goods and services?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, the regions are making a very important contribution to New Zealand's international trading position. Statistics New Zealand yesterday issued its first analysis combining New Zealand's trade in both goods and services. This comprehensive figure of our international trade showed New Zealand earned $2.8 billion more from exports than we spent on imports in the year to March 2015. These included such things as dairy exports to China, big growth in kiwi fruit. Forestry, of course, is a big contributor, and the meat sector, and of course these are very much products of regional New Zealand. And of course spending by visitors from Australia and the European Union also contributed, and that's a big regional contribution as well.
Question number 4, Peter Paroni.